Good morning, everybody. Here we are, Coffee with Jen and Sharon.
Good
I'm
morning.
Sharon.
I'm Jen. I had a coffee emergency in my house this morning, despite knowing that there was no coffee to be had in the house yesterday and telling myself 3 times, I need to go get coffee. I did not get coffee. So right before we went live this morning, I had to make a little run.
Oh, couldn't go without the coffee.
I couldn't try.
I had my hot beverage today. It is kind of a gray, cool day today, so it really seems like a good tea and hot beverage day.
Yes.
I stole my child's mug. It's it's a little it's a Paris mug.
I love it.
And I love it too. And I just decided today I'm taking it, and not permanently, but I'm going to enjoy it today since no one's using it.
I've been known to do that, to borrow a few things from my kids from time to time. I mean, they borrow stuff out of my closet. They think it's hilarious when I do it for theirs. I'll wear a shirt they haven't worn in forever and be like, wait, isn't that mine? Like, I don't know. Maybe, could be.
We've passed that point with the shoes. For a while, my 13-year-old was borrowing shoes from me, but she's outgrown me now.
Oh, that happens to me too. I used to like to clump around in my mom's heels. She never wore high heels, but she had a shoe with a heel, and they were patent leather, and I liked them, thought they were great. And so she would let me borrow them sometimes. And then all of a sudden my foot was too big to fit in it.
Yeah.
I was on my own. I'm sad.
Well, Jen, today we're talking about our kids' interests. And when they're teenagers, do they know what their interests are? Are we supposed to help them discover their interests?
Yeah.
How do they find out? Why do they need to know?
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you when it comes up and why they need to know. Because at some point, fairly early in their high school career.
Remind us how old yours are, Jen.
So one's about to graduate from college, which I hadn't really focused on until just now. Thanks, Sharon. And the other one is halfway through college almost. So yeah, but sometime around 9th grade, they're going to have or maybe even in 8th grade, they're going to take some like pre-college interest survey that helps determine like what their interests are. And we all took something like this too. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's called the plan. There's another word there's other tests, I don't know. There's a couple different.
I think ours was referred to as an interest inventory.
That sounds correct. Yes.
I think there are different ones.
There are different ones, but yes.
And you're right. My oldest, who's a 9th grader now, I think took this in 8th grade.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And so they get it back, and they can't wait to find out what they're interested in, because so they take this quiz and they fill in the little circles, and it comes back and tells them that maybe they would make a good forest ranger because they answered that they like spending time outside, or they like nature, or whatever it is. It's like, it's such a revelation to them because they don't know how to put words or thoughts around the things that they enjoy doing, especially not in terms of like, what could I ever do with this?
Right.
And that's a daunting thought to say, well, because I like X, maybe someday I could do Y. It's fine, I think, for them at this age to just like something because they like it, and to do it because they do it. Because it's not a good idea to reverse engineer and say, well, if you think you want to be a doctor someday, maybe you should be, you should have a chemistry set. Because if that's not what they're interested in, you have wasted $150 of your money on a chemistry set that will sit dusty in the closet. Ask me how I know.
It's a balance too, because as we're talking about, from the excitement and surprises of this interest inventory, we don't always know what we're interested in. So they might think that they would like chemistry or the chemistry set, but then they don't know. We had the experience. So my 9th grader just recently picked classes for next year, and they have a little more choice in the 10th grade than they have in the 9th. And there are some advanced classes that you can choose, but they really recommend not getting too intense with like doing all the advanced classes in multiple subjects. So we had to get to the point where like, do you really want to go more in the sciences? Or the humanities? Like, which one do you really want to go more intense with? And it's tough to know that, because they haven't had a lot of exposure. So maybe they haven't studied that kind of science in school yet.
Wait, how do you know? How do you know if you like it if you haven't tried it, right? Those are some of the questions we have. And I would love to know if there are any kind of pre-assessment type things that people's kids have taken that were not necessarily geared toward like, here's the classes you should take, but just sort of like in general, interest inventories that are kind of fun. I feel like the secret is to gamify it in some way. If it feels like a test that they have to fill the bubbles in on, they're probably not going to be too enthused about it. But let's be honest, kids of this age, adolescents, their favorite topic is them.
Yeah. But to be honest, even adults love personality assessments. You know, there's all these different ways to categorize adult personalities. Yeah. Even like those BuzzFeed quizzes, which character on this show are you? You know,
guilty.
We all want to know more about ourselves. And it seems so silly that we don't know, but we really don't. It's because we don't know how we're different from everybody else. We take ourselves for granted. We think what we like is obvious, that everybody likes that. So that's part of the problem for kids. They may think, well, I love being outdoors. Everybody loves being outdoors. Right. Well, no, they don't.
Right. When push comes to shove, some of them are decidedly indoorsy. And that is okay. Maybe there are things that they're enjoying that they're doing indoors that are just as valuable. But the reason this becomes an issue is that also at some point, the guidance counselor will say to them, it is time for you to fill out this, I refer to it as a brag sheet, because you're going to be applying to college possibly someday, and you're going to need to keep track of all the different things you do. So now our kids start to kind of conflate the idea of I am what I do. So if I want colleges to be impressed with me, then I need to have certain things on my extracurricular list. Maybe I need to say, or I need to do debate because I think they'll think that's valuable. But that's really not the right way to go about it either. And actually, we're going to have a seminar on this.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I'm going to plug that.
I want to know what the right way to do it. So this is actually, we're having this short webinar tomorrow night, which I'm super excited about because it's for parents of 9th graders specifically. I'm sure it'd be helpful to parents of 10th graders or 8th graders, but it's focused on parents of 9th graders, and you can bring your 9th grader. I'm going to be interviewing Sarah Harberson, who is a college counselor and the author of a new book called Soundbite, which is about, finding those interests and sharing with colleges who you are as a person, what makes you unique. And what I really want to ask her about, and what I'm going to ask her about tomorrow, is how do we help our kids figure that out? I mean, if we have 9th graders finishing up, they do have a little time before 2 years, right?
Yeah.
A year and a half? No, 2.5 years before they're applying to college. So this seems like an ideal time if she can tell us how to help our kids find those interests. I want to find out. So I'm going to be asking her about that tomorrow. I need to drop the link here.
Yeah, while you're looking for that link to put in there, I'll just share with you my experience, which is that I got a text from both of my kids when they were sitting in the guidance counselor's office saying, I have to fill out this form so my guidance counselor can write me a recommendation letter. What am I good at? And how would you describe me? These were the questions. These were basic questions.
They asked you that?
They asked me, what am I good at? And what are the 4 adjectives you would use to describe me? And I think there was a third question too. And while it was sweet that they wanted my input, I was feeling a little bit like I might not have done my job as a parent in that they weren't capable or comfortable to answer those questions for themselves. But there is a good parent role in here, and that is you can be the keeper of the brag sheet. That is one thing I think is really actually very helpful for parents to do.
So tell me what that means. Like, does that mean you're keeping a notebook like for years that you're writing things down?
I would suggest a Word doc, probably.
Okay.
I would share.
You're so modern.
I'm super modern. You didn't know this about me, but not really. But yeah, a shared Google Doc with your kid is a great idea because that's
where yeah. Because you want them to be involved.
Store it there and say, oh, remember you got an you got an award for something. Let's put it in there because someday we're going to have to know that for later. And you don't have to go way back. The colleges don't want to know like that they were, from 8th and 9th grade so much. Or at least not from 8th grade. 9th grade on is a good time to start keeping a list of these. Or maybe they don't remember that they did a really cool camp in the summer where they volunteered with the elderly. That is something that could become the seed for a scholarship essay question. How have you helped others? This is the type of thing that they get stumped on when they have to, under the glare of the light, and the admissions interviewer says, "Tell me about yourself." They're like, they need to have their elevator pitch ready to go. And I'm pretty sure Sarah Harbison is going to do a way better job of explaining this than I just did.
We'll see.
But
I'm sure she's fabulous.
Experience is it helps to have a few things in the hopper for them to jump off of and say, "Oh, I did do that thing. I did like that. You're right. That does make me a caring person. I didn't, I wasn't connecting the dots between what I like and what I do and who I am."
Yeah. Deborah's saying the Common App allows entry of activities, awards, and honors and grades not well. That's a good point. Yes. And I know Sarah's book, which I read, it's very good. She also mentions don't focus on what happened in middle school. The only thing, if we have middle school parents, I realize that it is kind of useful to start, if you think of it, because my son, who's finishing 9th grade, got a summer job. And on the summer job, they have to list their experience. And
oh, yes.
You don't have that much experience when you're getting your first job or applying for your first volunteer position. So that's the time that I think those things do matter. And then they kind of fade away as you build on that. So we actually forgot. We realized yesterday, oh, yeah, you did that volunteer stuff at church with your class at church. We didn't put that on. I say we. He didn't put it on because neither of us thought. I wasn't filling it out, I promise. But he didn't think of it, and I didn't either. So that would have been, even though it's going to fade away and not be important for college and all that, it is kind of nice to have that.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone to the next thing, and that helps to kind of have the through line. Christina had a question here too.
Yeah, I answered it. Will the webinar be able to be reviewed after tomorrow night? Yes, we'll record it. So if you sign up now and you can't come at 7:30 Eastern tomorrow on Thursday, then you can view it after. And I don't know how it works, Jen. If you sign up, it's a Zoom registration. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you can sign up after the actual webinar.
I don't believe so. I think you have to sign up before the webinar.
Yeah.
To get the replay afterward. So.
Okay. Deborah is sharing that when their kids were in elementary school, they had them explore lots of activities during summer camps. That's a good idea. It's a low risk, low commitment way to find passions.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
That's a fantastic idea. And we're going to talk a little bit more, I think, in the coming weeks about what we can do with our kids in the summertime or that they're enjoyable with them. But that's, if you live anywhere near a cultural community that has, museums or like our Natural History Museum, I think had a series of 1-week courses that you could explore things.
Yeah.
Like junior medical camp for a week.
I have a kid who did that. Yep.
Yeah. So those are a really great way. And also sometimes colleges offer those types of exploratory programs that are geared for high school people. And the reason they like to do it is because it gives you a little insight into the, what's it like to be on a college campus, which is also a really good experience to say, this is what it would be like to live in a dorm.
Especially for that kid who's apprehensive, or maybe especially your oldest kid, because the younger ones get the benefit of having tagged along on those college visits earlier. And it's kind of like when my oldest went to kindergarten, it was like, this big school, it's so different. And by the time the youngest went, she's like, yeah, okay, everybody else is there in my family. I've been here since I was born. Bye-bye.
Yep. They definitely they do get a little bit of an easier ride on that because it's not so unfamiliar. And then Deborah has another comment down here too. Did you grab this one?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we see what this is saying. If your kid has taken piano for their whole life and then quits the day before 9th grade, the colleges will never know.
That sounds completely hypothetical. I don't think that's
completely hypothetical.
It never happened.
It's funny. You know what? The upside, though, the flip side, is that if your kid hasn't done a lot, or, maybe they were super anxious or shy and didn't want to get involved, or just didn't know what they wanted to do, when they're in high school, they can try things they've never tried before.
Absolutely.
And that's there. You can always start fresh. I guess if you spent all that money on piano lessons and hope they'd continue, that's where it hurts. It hurts us, right?
Deborah says not hypothetical at all. You're feeling, Deborah. Sorry, been there. We understand. We feel your pain.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I think it's important that we, give our kids the opportunity to try things in a low risk way. It's okay to say this isn't a lifetime commitment. Let's try it for now. But you do want them to try to stick with it too. It's a fine line, You don't want them to just bail out the minute they don't like it, especially if you're for it.
I want to hear about how your girls discovered your interest, but I just want to acknowledge before we do that if your kids are in high school now, I thought it was a real interruption. I had my oldest was in freshman in high school. It's really hard to get involved and start trying out clubs and things like that when you're not there most of the year. And a lot of stuff is suspended. So one of the things we're going to talk to Sarah about tomorrow too is, what does this mean for for kids in high school now who kind of missed a year?
That's going to be a tough one for a lot of kids, especially
I know
who are a little closer to applying for colleges. That is something they've struggled with. Is like, but I didn't have the opportunity to show leadership because my clubs didn't happen or my teams got canceled. But
everybody is in the same boat.
Yes.
So there is that.
Yes.
But Jen, I would like to hear, you're the wise parent of college students. Did your daughters know what they wanted from life and from activities and from career? And were they just, born knowing all those things?
I don't think so. No, I think, we try to put opportunities out there for them to sample. It's like a buffet. Early on, I think we tried to get them to sample the sports buffet and wasn't grabbing a lot of interest. So we pivoted to some other activities that were equally interesting and important, or more interesting to them. So it's just sort of keeping an ear out for things that they show an interest in, but not going like whole hog on it. Like, I'm just going to give this little example of my husband, who I love dearly, tends to get excited about if I show a little interest in something, he wants to like grow it too fast. For example, I once went out to play 9 holes of golf with some women because we thought it would be a hoot. And then he bought me a whole set of clubs and I was like, I wasn't ready for that level of commitment. And they hung in the garage for a long time. I used them a few times, but I was terrible at it. And I had other things I wanted to do with that time. So I felt a little bit like too much too soon. So
that may be how our kids feel sometimes.
I think perhaps that we might sometimes we get excited because we see a little glimmer of interest and then we want to get all in on it. But this is an age where it's appropriate for them to pick up and put down and pick up and put down.
So we have to play it cool because otherwise they're probably going to say, oh man, I'm not going to be interested in anything because she's just going to go crazy if I even act like I'm a little bit interested.
Exactly. So, but there were times when I loved it when my kids showed interest in something that I had no knowledge on, because then I could say, oh, you could teach me a little bit about that because I don't know anything about it. I have one kid who's very creative with sewing, and she learned to knit. She taught herself some of these things because I didn't have the ability or the skill to teach them to her. But then when I saw that it wasn't a biting interest, I helped find lessons for her on it so she could develop that interest further.
Right.
And I had another who was really interested in Latin at school, which I didn't ever take. And that became kind of a niche area of interest for her because kids like what they're good at. When they find something that they're good at, nothing succeeds like success. So it helps them if they find a little something that they can be the expert in. That is your best opportunity for them to be successful and happy in it, whatever it is. If it's raising hamsters and guinea pigs, or if, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And that's what colleges think too, by the way. They don't care if it was debate or raising hamsters.
Right.
it's something your kid was interested in enough that they can talk about it with enthusiasm, that makes them interesting to them.
Right. I love Carrie Ann's question because that's my question too. At 16 years old, how are they supposed to know what they want? And that's what we're gonna ask Sarah Harbison in the webinar tomorrow. So make sure you look up in the comments. There's a link to the free short webinar tomorrow. So I'm really excited to find out the answer to that question. And I also maybe we should finish on that we did that one already. On Deborah's comment, majors change. Yes. We know that I think that's really important to remember. Interests change. You get more life experience. You figure all of that out. I know that I went to school undecided. I don't even know. Does anybody do that anymore? Went to college.
Yeah, my kids did.
Okay. See, there you go.
And some people I know whose kids went with a decided idea changed, and the wheels didn't stop turning. It really was okay.
Yeah.
So we're all going to figure it out together. Sarah Harbison is going to help you ask more questions to figure it out.
Jen will be there too. She's going to be behind the scenes helping with comments and questions, and making sure that everything goes right with the Zoom. So if anything goes wrong, it's definitely not my fault.
Not my fault.
No. So hopefully we'll see you there tomorrow, or you can watch the replay if you register. And otherwise, we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah,
next Wednesday.
We already decided what we're going to talk about next week.
I forget already. Do you remember? I know what it was. Yeah. It was next week. We're going to talk about the best parts of May and the worst parts of May, because May is one of those wild months that has its ups and downs. So
before we leave, though, I want to say this is a good question. Carrie Ann has, what if you know your child isn't going to college? Totally valid question. And yes, they still kind of need to know their interests, right? Because they're going to do something after they leave your house. So when we say college, you can put it in as a placeholder, launch, or leave my home, because we want them to be independent and to be fulfilled in if it's a career, or if they might have interest in military. And there are some assessments out there that can help your child kind of define what path that would be best for them.
And it doesn't have to include college. Let's share some of those resources, Jen.
Yeah, we'll put some. We'll go in the chat afterward and see if we can find it to give you. But I do know one right now that I can tell you about, because they have sponsored some other webinars that we've done. And there's an assessment called ASVAB, ASVAB. It is, if you've heard of it, you may associate it with a military placement assessment, and it is offered by the Department of Defense, but it is not limited to being interested in a career in the military. They offer something called the Career Exploration Program. You can go online and create, as a parent, you can create an account with your student, and they have interest inventories there. And those can help determine career, college, and military potential interests. And there's a ton of really good resources on there, and it's free.
Yeah, and like Jen said, it's not just, it has the whole civilian job database too, and they'll suggest what your kids' interests match up with what jobs. And if there is a college path, it'll tell them what colleges offer a related major. So it's kind of a cool tool.
Yeah, so that's a good one to kind of get your feet wet and play around with a little bit. And Carrie Ann says, he has no clue yet. You are an excellent company, Carrie Ann. You really are. Do not worry. I think that describes the majority of the kids out there.
Yeah.
Even those who are saying they're going to go to college, doesn't mean that they know what they're going to do with that either. So we're all going to work on this together, and we'll find some other resources that we can put in the in the comments on this for you later. Or maybe we'll ask our friend Jody if she can help us with that too. She's
yes. Jody is we call her our your teen librarian. She knows where everything is.
She does.
At her fingertips.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. That was fun. We always enjoy chatting with you guys. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow or very soon.
Yep. And then next week. All right. Take care, everybody.
Next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.